G'day there guys, would literally starve to death if not for the existence of microwaves. It's your host Markee, and welcome back to another episode of r/AmiTheA. I hope you love today's content, sit back, relax, enjoy the show, and smash that like button. Thank you. Posted by user ConcernedParent1234. Titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my disabled son and his partner I disapprove of their relationship? I am fully prepared to be called an a-hole. My son is 23 and has cerebral palsy that is quite severe. It only affects him physically. He is very smart. I have recently set up his financials where he gets his disability sent to him directly and got him his own place. His caregiver visits him daily at his new place. I did this because I wanted my son to be independent. He did very well for a few months, but has recently gotten into a relationship with a 58-year-old man that I simply do not approve of. It's not that I'm homophobic, but it's the fact that this man older than me has now moved in with my son. They've only known each other for 3 months. And what's worse is that my son isn't gay. I had a heartfelt conversation when my son broke down and admitted that he isn't gay, but is scared of dying alone. I have been heartbroken ever since and tried to set up some counseling sessions, only to find out that his partner is double booking activities on those days and is forcing my son to choose. I'm not sure what this older man's deal is. He is contributing around 25% of the rent and seems to work. Last Sunday, I had them over for lunch and I couldn't control myself. I called him a predator and I thought he was disgusting. He then proceeded to take it on himself to physically push my son out of the house without even asking. My son called me after and said what I did was wrong and I don't understand his predicament. Every instinct in me is telling me that this man is bad news. I'm contemplating reporting him to the authorities, but that might be going too far, and my son will likely resent me. Was I really the a-hole for calling out that creep like that? All I want is for my son to be happy, and right now, I really don't think this situation with a man he isn't attracted to is making him happy. But he is 23, and I may have overstepped. I honestly, personally don't think that you're the a-hole for doing this. I guess there could be situations similar to this where you intervening would be an a-hole move, but your son is being taken advantage of, and is being emotionally and now physically abused by this man. Everything to me screams manipulation, and I feel like you are being 100% transparent with this situation. I don't feel like there is much that you could leave out of a situation like this. I don't feel like you're intentionally painting him in a bad light. He does sound like a bad person. Your son needs help now more than ever, and I think you do need to get authorities involved and get this man out of the house. Not the a-hole, you would not be the a-hole. Not the a-hole. You aren't the a-hole at all. You are being protective of your child, and reasonably so. What in the hell is a 58-year-old man doing with a 23-year-old boy? You don't want to hear this, but I can almost guarantee that that older man has some really creepy control fetishes. Your son is physically disabled and young, and this older man can easily manipulate your son. For example, people who have fat fetishes. When their partner starts to lose weight, they have sex with them less often and tell them how they prefer when they were fatter, and then the person eats more to get fat again to appeal to their partner. It's emotional manipulation, and it's disgusting. There's no way that isn't what this man is doing to your son. I also think this dude is preying on her son financially too. I mean, okay, he pays part of the rent, but is he the one doing the budgeting since he schedules all their activities? OP, is your son on top of his finances? As in, does he know how to pull his credit reports, etc.? I wouldn't put it past a 58-year-old who manipulates a 23-year-old to the point of physically removing him from the situation to steal your son's identity as well, under the guise of, well, I was just trying to help him. Not the a-hole. The guy sounds like a creep and was physical with your son. OP, you are not worried about your son being with a guy, you are worried that your son is dating a man in his 50s who at one point was physical with your son, just because he's afraid of dying alone. OP, I strongly recommend talking to your son again about his situation, but I wouldn't call the authorities over it just yet. This is exactly it. If my son had found a younger man to have a relationship with, I would be thrilled. But not this old man who moves in just like that. He's older than me. He should know better, which is why I don't trust him. Age is somewhat irrelevant. Intent is far more important. If your son isn't gay and he's being used, I'd be more concerned about that. Age is irrelevant to some extent. He's fudging 58. Nasty. Why is it that so many people on this sub and others seem to think that age is absolutely irrelevant? An age gap is fine, as you say to some extent, but the creepy old idiot is older than his fudging dad. What kind of degenerate finds that okay? Exactly. It may be legal, but a 60-year-old should not be with a 23-year-old, especially a disabled 23-year-old who likely has self-esteem issues and definitely not enough relationship experience to make educated decisions about the appropriateness of the relationship. My boyfriend and I are 6 years apart. He's 27, I'm 21, and even he will make jokes that 20 was the youngest he's ever set his age limit to on Tinder, and he still felt old and gross. If someone 40 years older than you is telling you that you're the only one for them, it's because everyone their age realized a long time ago that they weren't dating material. They're just capitalizing on the naivety of youth. 100% this. People this guy's age have been through too much to put up with his bullcrap, but a 20-something-year-old who just started their adult life is more likely not to be able to see through him. Update to Am I the a-hole for telling my disabled son and his partner I disapprove of their relationship? So, my son has moved back in with me last weekend. The old man had apparently stopped working and was drinking heavily and being very loud and critical of my son. I got a phone call from my son on Saturday with him in tears and asked me to help him. I jumped into my car and brought him home. I also yelled at the man and told him I'm calling the cops. I then called an officer I knew to accompany us back to the apartment so that we could get his stuff. When we got there, it looked like the man had moved out in a hurry. So while the locks get changed by the wonderful landlord, my son is back home with me. I'm happy that he's rid of that predator, but I'm extremely sad my son felt he had to get companionship from a man like that. I have set up therapy appointments that my son will actually be attending now. I hope with all my heart he can find the happiness he is looking for. Thank you to everyone for telling me I wasn't completely crazy. Good. I'm glad for you and your son, though I wish that gross man had to face some kind of consequences for his actions, but better your son be out of that situation. On top of the therapy, maybe look into some things that your son can do in the community to make some friends, like classes at the local community college, or even something like a VR headset so he can try out those VR chat rooms. That way he can get out a little and talk to some other people, either IRL or virtually. I think making some friends on top of seeing a therapist would make him happy, and speaking from experience, a lot of people I met online have become true lifelong friends, even if we don't see each other much. If his motor skills are an issue, they make specialized controllers for people to use nowadays. But with VR, it's really just an all-in headset and moving around a little with controls in your hands. I apologize if this was an unwanted suggestion. I just know how valuable some of the friends I've made online have been in my life, so maybe your son will find a connection with someone too. Thanks for the great suggestions. He already goes to a program that will help him gain some administrative skills that I'm hopeful will turn into a good career. I'm still wary about him talking to people online because that's how he met the man. But I don't want to ban him from making friends. I just hope he will be more careful next time. There are toxic and healthy online environments. He might do well to engage with other communities of disabled people online and talk about his experience. Many others can probably sympathize. I'm so glad to read this update. I was seriously concerned about your son after reading your original post. I just want to say good job to the both of you. You stood by your son and helped him to get out of an abusive situation. Your son was brave enough to ask for help. With you by his side, I am sure he will be able to heal from this. Best wishes going forward. Thank you. That means a lot. I'm a little late to the show here, but here are my thoughts. I'm assuming his fear of dying alone is related to his condition, but for what it's worth, That is something that able-bodied people worry about all the time. At the end of the day, your son is 23 and has a whole life ahead of him. I think it's best he just surrounds himself with family and friends, and hopefully one day he'll find the right person. Posted by user, I don't want her there. Titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to invite my fiancé's ex, who he is still friends with, to our wedding? So, my fiancé and I were working on the list of people that we're inviting to our wedding next year, and he wants to invite one of his ex-girlfriends, who he is still friends with. I am not down with that. I said I don't want us to get married in front of the girl who was his girlfriend before me and with whom he had his longest relationship. They were together for 6 years. We have been together for 1. I've met the girl a couple of times. We're civil, and I know she's engaged, so this is not about jealousy. The idea just feels really weird and uncomfortable to me. He said that she's part of his friend group and he cannot invite all of their friends and leave her out. He said that she's part of his life and his friend before and after she was his girlfriend. He lived with her in college and she paid for everything because he was broke from supporting his siblings. He said she doesn't need to be seated anywhere near the altar where I can see her, but he wants her to be there. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I just want to clarify that she did not pay his tuition fees. She paid for their apartment, bills, and food, and that is a lot, and I'm glad she was there for him when he needed help. My god, they broke up amicably, they're still friends, and they were positive influences on each other's life? Yeah, better cut her out of the wedding, that's great. I understand it's your wedding, but it's his wedding too. Does he not get to decide who of his friends get to attend the wedding? Seems kinda petty and toxic that you're holding that against him for this one, and I'm gonna go with you're the a-hole for letting your jealousy get the best of you in this situation. I think you are the a-hole, and I think you would be the a-hole if you continue to die on this hill. I don't think it's worth it, and I think that they have a nice, platonic relationship. You're the a-hole. They have friends, and she's important to him, and she's engaged to someone else. Demanding she not be invited makes you seem really insecure in your relationship, which isn't a great sign going into a marriage, and makes me wonder extra why you're getting married only after a year of dating. Can I be totally honest? He proposed to me a month after she got engaged. I didn't nag him. I wasn't even expecting the proposal. But he asked, and I do love him, so I said yes. Afterwards, I sometimes thought what if he just proposed to me because he was trying to keep up with her. But I also think maybe that's just me being necessarily insecure. They don't talk or see each other often. She looks like she's really happy with her boyfriend, and I know my boyfriend and I are really happy together. I don't think that's crazy of you to find odd. In general, when I hear someone's getting married on a fast timeline, I wonder, what's the rush? And the answer is often that there's an external reason they're in a hurry, which isn't always bad, but can be. I think this fight is deeper than the guest list. Like I said in my other comments, if you were totally secure in your relationship, I don't think her presence would bother you. Maybe it's time to hold off on wedding planning temporarily so that you can have some deep talks about all of this. Can I have your honest opinion? Do you think that there's a chance that he really just proposed to me to keep up with her? I mean, I'm an internet stranger. I don't know either of you. But from my limited info, it does strike me as strange that he was in another relationship for 6 years without getting married, but proposed to you after less than 1. He might not have done it consciously, and it doesn't mean he doesn't love you, but it's not crazy of you to wonder. Don't worry, I just want to know what other people who don't know us think. I won't take your answer as proof and tell him he just used me or he doesn't love me. No a-holes here, but weddings and marriages are about compromise, and if this means this much to him, I'm on his side. Can I ask why? My point is that I don't want to see his ex as I walk down the aisle or say yes to him. I think the actual problem is that you are not secure with him or this relationship, and shouldn't be marrying someone you've known for less time than the peanut butter in your cupboard. Why would you be thinking about her as you walk down the aisle? This all sounds to be like you feel really insecure about your relationship, and part of you thinks that he still regrets losing his ex. One of my husband's exes came to our wedding, and I didn't even think twice about it. I barely even think about the fact that she's an ex of his because they were completely over before we met, and our relationship is 100 times stronger than theirs ever was. If you need his exes out of sight to not feel threatened by them, I worry about the strengths of your relationship. They had been broken up for 6 months when we met. I love him, and he has never done anything that's made me question his feelings for me. But sometimes it feels weird when I think that she had him for 6 years and I've only had him for 1. But then I think, even though we've been together for just a year, we have a lifetime ahead of us, and I'm really looking forward to that. That's not a very long time after a 6-year relationship, to be honest. But just talk to him about all of this. Tell him why you feel a little insecure about her, and even tell him you wondered if he proposed to you to keep up with her. The wedding invite isn't really the issue here. When you walk down the aisle, you should feel so confident in the marriage that's about to happen that Sasquatch sitting in the front row wouldn't distract you. Update: am I the a-hole for refusing to invite my fiance's ex, who he's still friends with, to our wedding? So it's been over a month since I first posted, and I thought that I'd post a last update for you guys as part of closing this chapter of my life. Short story, my fiancé and I have broken up. During pre-marriage counseling, he realized that he still loves his ex. She also broke off her own engagement for him, and they are now back together. I took to heart 3 things from the replies in my original thread. Those who said that I was "you're the a-hole" told me not to look at my fiancé's ex as his ex, but as his friend. Those who said I was not the a-hole advised that I should talk to my fiancé about my insecurities. Some suggested pre-marriage counseling. So I swallowed my pride and told my then fiancé that his ex is welcome in our wedding because she is his friend. I also told him of my insecurities and asked if we could go to pre-marriage counseling. He was supportive and agreed. After our second meeting with our counselor, my ex-fiancé talked to me. He said that counseling has made him realize that he's still in love with his ex. I was in total shock because he has always been the perfect boyfriend. I never felt like I was competing with anyone for him. He said he never meant to hurt me and that he did love me, but he could not marry me knowing that part of him will always belong to someone else. It's been a few weeks since we broke up, and surprisingly, I've been holding up well. It hurts because I miss him, but I just tell myself that he's not the right one for me. I'm 23, I have my whole life ahead of me, and it's an exciting new adventure to try to find the right person. My ex-fiancé and I are civil. He's a good guy, and I appreciate our time together, though it sucks that it's ended. From what I know, he told his ex that he still loves her, and I guess that she felt the same way because she also broke off her engagement to give their relationship another try. Good luck to them. So there. I just want to thank everyone who commented, whether it's "you're the a-hole", "not the a-hole", or "no a-holes here". I had great advice from people, especially those who said we should try pre-marriage counseling. It changed my life, hopefully for the better. I'm not sure if anyone else has pointed this out or not, but your intuition was obviously picking up on something significant when you, who presents as such a balanced and reasonable person, had such a strong reaction to the idea of his friend being at your wedding. It's such an invaluable thing to be able to discern when they're being insecure and unreasonable, and when we're tapping into deeper knowledge we need to pay attention to. I am so sorry this happened, but so impressed with how you're processing this. If it had to happen at all, I'm glad it was before you took vows. And kudos on seeking out clarity through counseling. May your intuition continue to serve you well. Also want to back this up, since OP was deemed the a-hole in that post. A-hole or not, your intuition saved a lot of people a lot of heartache. Props to you. Edit: I don't understand the sensitivity here. Giving props to OP isn't a diss on people who called her the a-hole. She deserved compliments for her intuition and how she ultimately handled the situation. Some folks below actually trying to take credit now? Like, seriously? Hey there. I didn't see your first post a month ago, but I browsed through it and I could not believe the complete lack of empathy from the "you're the a-holes" in there. Anyone who told you that you were an a-hole for not wanting to share your wedding day with someone your fiancé loved for 6 years doesn't understand how human emotions or healthy relationships work. Relatable. Jealousy is a human emotion, and there is never a justification for putting the person you want to spend your life with through it on your wedding day. It's selfish, it's irrational, it's just a bad move. Anyone who insists on doing it against the protestation of their fiancé obviously has other priorities, and that's what you learned here. You are not the a-hole. You never were. Not one of these upvotes in the first post came from a person that cares about another person as much as they care about themselves. I'm probably going to get downvoted to hell because of this, but this is exactly why I draw a hard line with ex friendships, both for myself and the person I'm dating. If I'm dating you and you're super buddy-buddy with an ex, that's your prerogative, and you're completely within your right to do so, but I'm out. Out of the billions of people on Earth, I don't for the life of me understand why you'd want to hold on to a quasi-friendship with a person you previously dated. There's a reason you were attracted to them in the first place, and among the things shared between you are an emotional bond, physical affection, bodily fluids, and all other forms of intimacy. The rapport and connection you share with them doesn't automatically go away because you are no longer dating. The only exception to this is if you have children together. You obviously need to remain in each other's lives in that case, and try to remain civil. Alright, that's where I think I'm going to end today's episode, guys. As always, I really do hope you learned something or just really enjoyed the posts that were put up today. Quick shout out to all my new and existing Patreon and channel members. You should be able to see your name on screen right now, and if you don't, then I don't think you're part of the club, and you really should join the club because it's a great club. And I want to thank every single one of you guys for supporting me in this journey. It really means so much to me, and I love you all so much for it. Thank you for helping me out. As you can tell, I'm now happy and healthy back in Australia. Thank God it's not cold like Ireland. I don't like wearing jumpers everywhere. I prefer the heat. Thank you very much. I know that's an unpopular opinion. Anyway, guys, I really do hope you enjoyed today's episode. I'll see you in the next one. Have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you later. Bye.